Welcome to another Boyish Rant. Here's hoping you're all staying sane, staying indoors, staying safe, and following the rules and all that. It's been interesting seeing how the global powers have been coping with the COVID-19 crisis. But there's been one topic that has caused just a little bit of concern. And I suppose that's what today's rant is about. How much of your freedoms and civil liberties would you give up to battle coronavirus? This has been on my mind since I read that Bulgaria is going to be taking part in this new surveillance scheme that involves a wristband that can be tracked via GPS satellite. Bulgaria is joining a handful of other nations in testing these similar wristbands to make sure people are staying at home during the quarantine. And the whole thing feels a little bit weird to me, like this is stage one and fucking stage two will be some kind of taser app that will down you with 500,000 volts if you want to get a pint of milk. The Comarch Life wristband was actually developed in Poland, which may be one of the weirdest aspects about this story more than anything else. I mean, who saw Poland being the ones to design technology that tracks people? As well as confirming a person's whereabouts, these new wristbands can be used to measure heart rates and even call emergency services, which admittedly is good for boomers and old people. And I tell you what, thank God they added that last bit because, up until now, humans have been completely unable to contact emergency services. So, thank God for that last one. Now, these wristbands are so far voluntary, with just a few enforced cases in South Korea due to people violating quarantine rules and such. And all this because people were leaving their smartphone at home and being caught for it. This new wristband can alert the authorities if the wearer leaves the house or even if you try to take it off. It's a bit like a prison anklet, but flashy. Many campaign groups have warned that this crisis could actually be a power grab by some governments, and they're more than likely correct. If you really think governments don't use crisis periods to push through legislation that they couldn't get through before, you are naive as fuck. Take, for example, the Patriot Act, wildly controversial bill that was actually kind of started as an amendment to another bill in 1978. But the point is that they couldn't get through until, of course, my hot dog. And then suddenly this massive civil liberty infringing Patriot Act gets pushed through Congress in 45 days with almost zero amendments. If you don't think that's odd, then you put the dents in coincidence. In fact, the UK's privacy watchdog has said that the government already has powers to track and monitor people's movements using their phone's data. All of this can be used to create contact tracking, which is where a record of your contacts is kept. So if you test positive for COVID-19, everybody who knows you gets an alert to stay the fuck away from you. There's certainly an irony to the surveillance measures being put into place to combat a pandemic. The outbreak started in China. China. The country with the most extensive population surveillance capabilities quickly put it at work, as you knew they fucking would. Extensive data, facial recognition, apps, phone tracking, and even drones. China did what China does, but that's Chinese communism for you. What are you going to do? No, seriously, what are we going to do about it? And then comes Israel, who last week said, we will stop at no means to stop the spread of coronavirus, utilizing these digital means to monitor the population, technology originally designed for counterterrorism. Benjamin Netanyahu came out and said that until now he has refrained from using this on the civilian population. But I feel like he said that sentence a lot in his life. But there is a twist here. Netanyahu isn't trying to monitor known patients. That's more easily done. This is data mining. What was more interesting is what Netanyahu didn't say. He talked of geolocating phones, which everyone assumed was simply adding a patient's phone details to a watch list and see where they go. That's the simplest tech imaginable in surveillance. That's not what he meant. Our phones are the front end to an absolute wealth of data that can be collated and mined. Your phone knows where you go, yes, but it also knows who you talk to, who they know, and who they talk to, and for how often. Also, side note, when I say phone here, I mean smartphone. This is why you see like criminal elements using an old phone like these, as they are much harder to track. And so this will begin initially anonymized before slowly venturing into cases with identifiable data elements. As that happens, the government are bound to use our phones to track our movements. The tech is there and it will be used. China has led the way on this for all the wrong reasons, and even though the UK has been critical of that, we are moving forwards to a time when we're going to have to question our tolerance for our own governments who are going to be doing some of the same, admittedly for a different cause.